All right, welcome back. First to the floor, Celtics win, and this is the life we're living right now. Painful, soul-crushing loss. We get 48 hours of civil war on the internet, and
That's it. That's all it's been is 48 hours.
And then they come back, and then they blow the other team out.
You know, it's one of those things where I'm like a scorned lover where it's like now I'm just apprehensive. I need to see how the next 2 or 3 games before Cleveland unfold before I allow myself to even breathe just because they've been so up and down. And I think the frustrating thing, I think I'm more frustrated than ever just because I look back at how they're like games like tonight and really how they're playing over since that Toronto loss. And you look back at the Atlanta close and the Houston close, and you're like, this team should have won 6 of 7, and everyone would be thrilled. And now it's like people are at each other's throats because they're just so up and down when it's like, it's so cheap to keep saying, but it just goes back to shot making. Like their only issue is just shot making. And when they do it, this is what happens. It's just...
We're close. Brandon's got it in the chat. We're so close to basketball nirvana. Just keep getting hints or hits of it.
Yeah, it's like a cock tease of what they are. It's like just put it in already. Like stop.
Just come on.
And just come on. That's how it feels.
Put PP in there, and we're good to go. Yeah, look, I said this the other day. It's like if they win both of those games, as you said, everyone is happy. Everything feels completely different. And so I'm choosing to believe that because if 3 possessions go differently, then we feel better. Then the team is actually playing well and the things are actually about as good as they feel. Because all of the wins have been pretty clean, except for the Clippers one, which was less clean. But outside of that, it's been
And Corrales in the pregame had a really good question to Joe about this when he's like, you know, your top 5 offense, top 5 defense, top 5 net rating, you know, what's with your record? And he was like, well, essentially we're dog shit in clutch time games and it's cost us 2 wins. And these close games where you're 1 or 2 possessions away can change your entire, you know, perception of how you're playing. So it's like, even though the stats said, hey, you should be like 7-3 during this stretch and you're 5-5. Well, if you don't handle yourself for, you know, the biggest possessions of a game in the final 2 minutes of a close game, if you can't get stops and if you're not hitting your open jumpers, you lose those games. And that's how thin the margin can be when we're talking about, all right, are the Celtics in a slump? Well, if they had won those games and then won 6 of 7, nobody's saying they're in a slump. They're just saying, wow, they're winning despite being inconsistent shooting. And that's really what it is. It's like they're trying to battle their inconsistency with shot making. And the results are the games that they're losing are tight ones. Minus the Lakers loss, but that was 5 and 7. So
exactly. Yeah. And like the blowing teams out and taking care of business, like that is part of the recipe for getting to 60 wins and pulling together a net rating that they've got and similar to last year, right? It's like, it's just the last 2 seasons, they've been quite good or excellent in crunch time. And last season they were the best. I'm not even sure statistically if they were the best they've been, but you knew last season by the time you kind of got to the end, like you knew they were going to execute offensively and you knew that defensively there weren't going to be any lapses. They were going to be locked in, and it hasn't quite been as clean. And there are people that believe that crunch time is like statistically kind of a coin flip because it comes down to so few possessions. And like with the Rockets game, you have to go at least 1 for 3 on the 2 Jaylen and 1 Drew threes. You can't go 0 for 3.
And the issue, honestly, like their problem in that game was more the lack of stops when they were in their cold spell. About midway through the fourth, they gave up baskets on 5 out of 6 possessions. So it's like their whole fourth quarter defense as a whole is dog shit. Like, that's the bigger problem. I think Missoula only called out the clutch time, but really it's their entire fourth quarter performance, especially in their losses, is like the worst in the league type offense, defense, and net rating and true shooting. It's like 28th to 30th in the league in their last 6 losses. So they just like they win their games in a very predictable fashion, and their losses come in a very like you. If you didn't watch and you said, "Hey, the Celtics won," you could probably lay out the blueprint. If someone told you that they lost, you could probably lay out the blueprint because they're consistent in both their good times and their weaknesses.
I'm confident. I'm feeling good, and one reason to be feeling confident right now is our Latvian king, Kristaps Porzingis.
What a gift!
I mean,
can I be on? Can we be in the trust tree for a second?
Okay. Hop on in.
It was going to have to take a lot for me to like emotionally accept Marcus Smart not being a Celtic.
Yeah,
I don't think even if you had asked me that night what KP would have to be and bring for me to like emotionally have closure in that. And I don't think I could have even what he's done outperforms what my expectations would have been. Even with his injury history, like we knew all that, what he did last year immediately right away, how he backed it up in the playoffs when he was on the floor. Because remember, we all said like he's never played in a big time pressure playoff moment like in his life. So the way that he came through and the fact that he's arguably been the second best Celtic this season. I think it's hands down. It's not even a question. So it's like he had his Celtic experience for those of us who, really took the Marcus Smart trade hard has been even better. Even though, every second he's on the floor, I'm holding my breath. Like I'm nervous anytime he has to slide or move his feet or jump or anything. Like I'm accepting that risk because his production has just been so consistent. And I really respect a guy that talks like he does to the media and calls out when they're being, substandard. And then he goes out and makes sure that he lives and does his part. I just have so much respect for that. And he came back, January 3rd? He hasn't missed a game outside of scheduled rest. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, man, I'm becoming less and less scared, and I'm not sure if that's just because he's playing more games now or I need to be more on my toes because it's maybe the injuries around the corner. But, like, I'm not holding my breath as much. Physically, he's looking better in the post. Defensively, he's been really good. But, like, yeah, look, the Marcus Smart thing and feeling that hole and feeling that emotional void, like, I love Marcus.
You could not ask for a better result, right? Like, the fact that he ended up being the cheat code missing piece, right, to truly unlock that next level. The fact that, like, even though he was hurt in the postseason, he came back for the finals and then had an out-of-body experience to set that whole tone. And then, again, gets hurt, but then immediately comes back this year. Like, the only thing that struggled in his first couple games was his outside shot because he wasn't in game shape. Like you said, he's playing more games. He's in game shape. I mean, he's shooting 42% from three. Like every single game is 2 to 3 threes a night. And that spacing is that what we saw today is how every team is going to defend Jason Tatum. They're going to double him. They're going to rely on Porzingis' shot making and his decision making when he catches the ball at the free throw line when Tatum is doubled. We saw today why, like, I am begging teams to continue to double Tatum like this because it's only going to make everybody else more confident in those situations. I know that Tatum is going to handle it and he's going to make the right play. I want everybody else to feel comfortable with the weight of the responsibility to execute. And number one on that list is Kristaps Porzingis.
He's been awesome. And the fact that he's taking, as you said now, like he's taking a bit of the leadership role as well, which is not something that wasn't really needed last year at all. Like, what was there to say? It was like, we lost 2 games in a row a couple times, and then was
Right.
followed by 7-8 game winning streaks over and over again, and on the way to 16-3 in the playoffs. But this year, after the Toronto game, he was pretty vocal about how like that's not good enough. Spirit wasn't there, and he's been walking the walk, and that's been something I've been a little bit critical of Jaylen about. Is like you keep talking about being all defense and wanting there to be a separate award for perimeter defenders. Well, go out there and show us that has some weight to it. And KP every night has been awesome. Yeah, I thought there was a little bit of an adjustment with the team, with him getting back into shape like first couple games. But one, he's playing every night. But two, he's just been our most consistent dude for the last 10 plus games now. And like him and Tatum's 2-man game.
I'd be curious. What was his 3-point volume like in his first handful of games? I bet you he was taking like 3 to 4 in his first few games when things looked kind of janky. I bet you over the last 5 or 6 games, it wouldn't surprise me if he was more like 5 or 6 a game. I feel like a lot of it was like 1 for 3s, 2 for 4s early, but like I don't know, maybe I'm just fabricating.
I think that might be your brain
I
doing
just feel
stuff.
like he's a more willing 3-point shooter recently.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my own imagination, but it just feels like he's spacing the floor more as opposed to just relying on post-ups or attacking switches.
I think maybe it's not coming through in pure 3-point attempts, but I think that I agree with you that early they were forcing the post-ups. And I'm like, you don't have to force the post-ups. What makes him special is, one, he can obviously punish those mismatches, but the fact that you saw it today, and logo 3 is not hyperbole for once. Sometimes people like logo 3s. This dude like was in
I had the screenshot.
logo.
He was touching the paint. He was basically in the paint.
Insane.
Yeah.
And that is truly the unicornness of Kristaps Porzingis, is the protecting the rim in a way that very few people can, and then the shooting from like, and we're not talking about, and Al Horford's become a great shooter. He's pretty much right on the line, and the release has gotten a lot faster to Al Horford's credit. But this dude, KP, is shooting from 30 feet. The trigger is quick, and it's from above his head where he's 7 foot tall. So that leveraging that space, and last season was definitely more KP, JB, cookies and cream, 2-man game. The Tatum KP 2-man game, I haven't looked into like the numbers, but like that seems to be more of a staple that they're going to at the moment. And when I fast forward to like the playoffs, winning the title back to back is hard. But if KP can be healthy and you can just get to KP, Tatum, high screen and roll, pick and pops, if they're switching or trapping, you find KP in mismatches or Tatum finds the open guy. That's just going to be something that's going to provide a sustainable source of offense in the playoffs. Yeah.
Exactly. Think back to what Brad said when he made the trade. It's like the whole key was when they played Miami, they couldn't handle switching defenses, right? They were pressuring the ball, getting up in space, and getting the ball out of Tatum's hand and making somebody else beat you. Well, now you have an indefensible switch god where you do not have the defenders. You got to pick your poison, right? Like it's a lose-lose situation no matter what you choose. And then you're surrounding that action with, 40% shooters and elite rim pressure guys with your bigger guards and slashing wing and Jaylen. So I'm with you where it's like, I don't even need that action to start behind the 3-point line. Like there was the play where Tatum was trapped. They dish it to KP, who was at the free throw line, turning quick, pass to Jaylen, who was cutting off ball. Like that, I trust Porzingis to take that free throw jumper, to post up the mismatch, or to make a pass like that. And if that's going to be available to you in the playoff series, think of the teams you're going to be going against. Think of how they're going to be able to put in that action. Jared Allen, 35 feet from the basket. If the Cavs go one big, if it's, Evan Mobley, just like last year, Porzingis didn't even play, and we saw with Horford, get him out in space. Like that is the key to the whole like playoff puzzle of how this, because then once Tatum can't get trapped, you've lost. Like that's your only hope. And if he's going to be able to have the ball, he's going to beat you, as playoff Tatum just showed us on the way to a title. It's like, it sounds so easy because it is. Like it's that basic.
And on a night like tonight, obviously, it feels obvious and it feels like it's going to work. But yeah, I'm with you. We got to see them actually. As much as I truly believe the process has been what we're looking for from that Toronto loss on for the most part. Like, but the process has to lead to results at some point.
Yeah, you have to. I look at it like this, right? Like you can win with bad coaching and good execution. You can win with good coaching and good execution, like a good system or strategy and good execution. You cannot win in the NBA and especially in the playoffs with bad execution. You can have the best approach, best coaching. If guys are, the ball is moving and guys are getting open looks and you are not converting on those open looks, nothing else. At the end of the day, it's about putting the ball in the basket. So I think tonight was another great example. We saw Tatum make passes out of the double team the same way today that we did against Houston. They were generating the same open looks tonight that they did against Houston. The difference was, like you said, against Houston, Jaylen missed those two. Drew missed that one. Tonight, they made their open looks. So it's like the process and the system and how they want to play does not change. It just comes down to, can you execute when your opportunity comes if defenses are going to take the ball out of Tatum's hand?
It is interesting, and Ime did it for pretty much the entire second half. Or not the entire second half. Once Tatum had that third quarter where he kind of had 15, he got going.
He made that 1-3 and they called the timeout and that was it.
Because I think because I'm sometimes I'm always like, is doubling Tatum at this point in his career the smartest thing to do? Because he's just so good at beating doubles and blitzes now, and the talent surrounding him.
It's like people outside of right after the 2022 finals, when Golden State just abused him with physicality on traps and doubles. Since that moment, Jason Tatum is not stopped by double teams because he can still bend the defense. He'll split it sometimes and, open up the lob at the rim, or he'll just simply force you to rotate and make a cross-court pass, and now you're in rotation. Like, the whole point of that defense, I don't think, is to stop Tatum, because I think they're conceding that he's going to make the right pass. It's more just about, we're just going to live with somebody else proving that consistently they can execute and come through. It's just like how Bill Belichick is like, I'm taking away your number one option. I don't give a shit what you do. You're going to have to prove to me that, your number 2 and 3 wide receivers can come through. That's why I love that teams are doing this in January, because those guys, I don't need to see Tatum beat a double team. I know he can. I want the other guys to get the experience and to handle the pressure of these games coming down to them making a jumper off a Tatum pass. Like, that is undeniably one of the crazier things of this entire season, is how people just continue to brick off Tatum passes. So for me, it's like his scoring is going to take a hit, obviously, because teams are doubling him, and that's annoying. But for the bigger picture of repeating as champion, I think I welcome it because it's an important rep to have.
Yeah, and I think, if anyone knows Tatum, it's Ime. And I think that Ime's approach is the right approach. It was like, he didn't start sending the doubles and the blitzes until Tatum started to cook. Because in that first half, and I think this is part of Tatum being fatigued and coasting a little bit, LeBron style. Like, I don't know if you knew this, but I think coming into tonight, he was 7th in the league in total minutes played, which
he was 6th, and top 4 were all Knicks. Okay. Yeah, 4 of the top 6 were Knicks. It was like
he went up after the Houston game. Then
yeah, it was like one other dude. I can't remember who it was. 4 Knicks, and I think it may have been Anthony Edwards.
Yes,
maybe.
It is Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, it was like Anthony Edwards, Tatum, and 4 Knicks.
Yeah, and then you
he hasn't rested. He hasn't rested since the 23rd of December. So.
He hasn't rested since like the 1920 season. Where the 20/21 season, where they lost in the first round. And then it was like conference finals. Like, no one's played more minutes in the NBA in the last 3 seasons plus this season than Tatum. And I think that that first half in Houston is him trying to, can I kind of like settle my way to a W? And that was not working in the first half. So we saw him get downhill. And then it was like, okay, you're going to single cover him, even with the Amen Thompson. Like, there aren't a list of guys, how many guys are ahead of Amen Thompson right now as far as like ISO defenders for guys like Shea and for Tatum. And in that fourth quarter, he had 2 plays ISO on Amen Thompson straight to the rim, and he finished. And then again, they went back to the doubles and the blitzes. And I think that, if you're an opposing coach, is the move. As soon as he proves that he's breaking your defense with your playing drop or switching, you have no choice really. You have no choice really to do that. And so
Billy Donovan did it from the opening.
I know.
tip.
Yeah.
That's a crazy part. He was 5 of 15 and he was still commanding that double. And but again, that's important reps that I think is like, the biggest thing is that he never forced anything, right? Like he didn't say, man,
one post up on Patrick Williams annoyed me, but other than that, it was okay.
But he's allowed to be aggressive. It was more, but like, again, it was a situation where other guys were making shots. So there's nothing wrong with just hanging back and making the right play. Because again, the NBA is a copycat league. Everyone that has legitimate wing defenders, or at least, serviceable wing defenders, is going to try to have that same approach, right? Like Patrick Williams is an okay perimeter defender. Yeah. We'll send help, right? Like the Amen Thompson, the other Tari Eason, like the Warriors with their length, Minnesota with their length. Like the book is out on a strategy to try to limit them. That's why it's just so important that guys shoot like they did today.
Yep. Yeah, and like the knee that he popped up on, I know it's the same knee that he popped up on earlier in the year. It's hard for me to kind of pass this stuff because I'm like, is he tired? Is he a bit injured? But then I see that second half against Houston, and I'm like, that's like peak Tatum. The way that he's dicing everybody up, still getting to the rim, hitting threes, like 19 points in the second half against like the second best defense in the NBA. So it's probably both. It's probably a mix of both, and like the adrenaline gets going, and you're able to turn it on. But the fact he only had to play 31 minutes tonight because the Celtics went on that run.
That was crazy.
Second quarter where they couldn't get him in. So I was like, okay, that's kind of nice.
As a basketball fan, I loved the uninterrupted play.
Yeah.
But also, I'm like, I want this dude back in the game. Like, commit a foul or something. So that was
good. We bought him 3 extra minutes of rest.
I think it was, I think he walked over at like 450 and he came in at 150. Like, when have you ever seen an NBA game with 3 straight minutes of uninterrupted play? That's crazy.
It's beautiful. Okay. Derrick White. We got 2 in a row here of him looking an awful lot like Derrick White between the Mavericks game and this game.
The rest day. It's why I want Tatum to take a rest day, because I think you're seeing, especially on his threes, he has his legs. He was much quicker with the ball, getting into the paint. His floaters weren't short. His threes weren't short. Like, he looked, like you said, like Derrick White. And I think that stems with, the rest. I think these guys, he was another one, played in the Olympics, actually played. So, like, he had more run than, the average player. And I just think that this team, when they have this version of Derrick White, is virtually unbeatable.
And that's what we've been saying, right? It's like, this is it's not hard to diagnose why the Celtics are flirting with 500 or there above. It's because Derrick White has been significantly below what we're used to, and Jaylen has also been below what we're used to, which we'll get to Jaylen as well. But yeah, I think I saw a stat like on when Derrick White shoots under 40% from the field versus over 40% from the field, and it's like astronomical. They're like, it's essentially, it's the 500-ness, or they're like one of the best teams in the league. And it's not rocket science. The dude that shoots 14 shots a game, and when 10 of those are threes on sub nights, like, you kind of need him to make them. And
and him and KP, like, I consider them, they're like the back-breaking scorers, right? Like, defenses are so focused on stopping Tatum and Brown that when their gravity generates open looks for Porzingis and White, and they convert them at anything that's higher than 23%, whatever this awful run has been, right? If they just shoot their normal averages, it's just so deflating for a defense, because it's like, we don't have the bodies to cover all these 40% shooters. When those two are slumping and defenses are honing in on your 2 best players, and those 2 guys are also going through an inefficient stretch, that's why it's like the White, Horford, Pritchard, how like the others, their shooting struggles are so magnified because they're also coming at a time when your 2 best players aren't exactly the most efficient from the floor. You need that supporting cast to give you that, like, back-breaking. They played 23 seconds of defense, but then it swung to Derrick White in the corner, and he makes the 3. Or Drew Holiday, same thing. Like he swings to him in the corner, makes that three. Those were the shots that they were hitting at like a 40% clip last year. This year, it's like 37, 36%. And just that small dip in efficiency is what you're feeling. And that is what is leading to the 500 basketball.
Yeah, that day off probably looks like it did him some good. Like he was questionable coming into the Mavericks game, I think, as well. And the thing that I love about him as well, like if he's either looking for that three, and if it's not there, he's like either coming off a screen or it's being swung to him. He just starts his attack on the closeout beforehand. And when he's doing that, it just gives, and that's why I've liked Derrick White since the moment he got here. Even when he wasn't making shots at the same level that he was now, or like in the last couple of seasons, that first half season that he got here, it was the quick decisions. And on a team when we had Jaylen and Jason and Marcus, like the ball getting a little bit sticky, that's why I always liked about Derrick was the quick decision making, get downhill, 3-level score, the floaters at the rim, and obviously from three. So to see him get back to that, like that quick twitch, that quick decision making, grease the wheels of the offense, it just makes me feel better about them on a possession to possession basis on offense.
And to that point, I also really liked how in the beginning of the fourth quarter, where it never really, it's not like it got close and it was, at risk, but it was somewhat in the balance where the Celtics started, I think maybe like 1 of 4, 1 of 5, like they weren't making their threes. Chicago was coming in. What broke the seal was White passing up threes, getting into the paint and taking his floater. And I think he made like 2 or 3 in a row to you just stayed attached. And then once you stayed attached, everyone took a deep breath and they were able to punch back. But I thought that decision and that execution from him, because for me, his barometer shot is his floater. When his floater is that pure, that tells me that he has his touch. And I thought it was really, really good how he utilized it in that moment, especially because of how bad their fourth quarters have been in a lot of these games. That was huge.
Yep. Great to see D. White looking a little D. White-ish. Jaylen Brown. And, like, it's been a down season for Jaylen. And it's led to
in some areas, it's been, like shooting, defense, like that has the best, but like his passing is up.
Passing's definitely better.
His decision making is up. His turnovers have been, right around the same 2.5, 2.7. But I would, if we were grading it, he would not have the same grade as last year.
And he's definitely the passing and the playmaking has definitely improved. And we've kind of been saying like, I don't think Jaylen Brown's forgotten how to put the orange ball in the basket. The thing that earned him multiple All-NBA berths and a Supermax contract is because of his ability to put the orange ball in the basket. And so, like, if you were to tell me that Jaylen was going to have pretty much a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, he was going to average nearly 5 assists. That's clear growth. That is real.
21.6% assist percentage. All while his turnover percentage is right in line with his career at like 11.2, which, for a high usage player is with a 20% assist percentage is, right in line with all the other, elite playmakers that have that type of production. And I just think for him, it's like everybody else. He just needs to see the ball go in, right? Like I thought today was a good use of his physicality, overpowering. Chicago didn't have the wing defenders to stop him at the rim. The threes, I don't think, did he make a three? He may have been like
1 for 5.
Yeah, so like that.
He had one go like halfway down. Yeah.
So this was a night where his three wasn't working, but I felt like he never settled and he found ways to be productive both as a rebounder and a facilitator and creator. And I think, honestly, this was all you need from him. Right? Like maybe you want a little bit more engaged defense. Maybe you want a little bit better from the free throw line. But from a decision-making standpoint and an efficiency standpoint, for a guy having a down year shooting the ball, it was, what was he, 8 of 14 or something like that? I think
he was 10 for 18 from
10 for 18. Okay, total. So over 50%. Like
really good.
Just like Derrick White, I just think he needed to see himself have a performance like this to remind all these guys, like, hey, you guys are actually pretty good at this game of basketball. If you just play to your standard, you're pretty good.
Yeah, no, like the passing's been up, the defense, but like the defense has struggled and the scoring efficiency's down. And that's what makes him great. And so for tonight, for him to like take a team that can't guard him, man, it's like Patrick Williams is really the only guy that had a chance, and the rest of this roster,
and he's on Tatum, so it's
too small. Kobe White, Julian Phillips, Lonzo Ball, Josh Giddey, Martes Porzingis, and he went straight to the paint and he's used his frame. And he got downhill. He got like from 2-point range, he was awesome. He got to the line 11 times. Now he was 7-4-11, 63.6%. He makes what? Man, he had two like that almost were air balls today.
I barely grazed the front. Yeah.
But like on a points per possession basis, 7 points out of 11 free throws is still you're above more than a point per possession. I think I'm not a scientist, but I think that's how it works. So like 28, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 0 turnovers. Like, and defensively he was good tonight as well. Like,
and his approach, right, was a huge reason as to why they were able to go from +3 to +12. I think it was, or +14 in the non-Tatum minutes in that second quarter. That is the key. When he is sharing the floor with Porzingis, I think it opens up space for him. And when he's able to get into the paint and convert, like, again, I don't think people realize, like, part of the reasons in those bad losses and in the game against the Lakers and even in the Clippers game that they won, the Celtics were very, very poor at finishing at the rim. And Jaylen missing those little bunny hooks, like those were a big part of it. Tonight you saw him just go in strong, finish and execute. My guess is they probably as a team shot well over 60% tonight at the rim after, being in the low 30s for their last couple games, which is, 30% under league average. I bet you they were well over 60% at the rim today. And they made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I think I've got it right here. At the rim, accuracy, 62.5%.
There you go. Like today. It's just when they're converting
it's not even that good, but it's fine.
I mean, it's slightly below league average. I think league average is 66 and they were at 62. But when they're in the 60s at the rim and then at the 40s from 3 in the 40s on good volume, like you're just not going to be able to score enough to limit that, because you can survive if you get one of those two. If the Celtics are great in the paint but can't make their threes, you're alive. If they're making their threes but they can't make their layups, then you can hang around. But when they're doing both, you get 20-point blowouts, and that's how that's what happened.
And that's what we like to see. Yep, that was good. So something that was interesting, Joe's definitely been playing around with the lineups. I'm not sure how you felt about the Tillman Cater double big lineup against the Rockets, but
I mean, I can understand. Bad. I understand why he went to it. Like, guys.
Why? To explain, how do you understand it?
Just he needed bodies, I guess. I don't know. Right. Like, Al's out.
That was bad.
The only thing that bothered me about that is he gave that lineup 2 shifts on either side of a timeout in that first quarter.
Yes, right.
I would have pulled it after, in that timeout. The fact that he went back to it was the mistake. Trying to at least see it initially isn't a mistake because you don't know how it could look. Once you saw how it looked and then didn't change it, then you're like, what the hell? This was a disaster 8 minutes.
Yeah, that was not good. But so and I like experimenting. I'm an experiment guy. I always make fun of people for being like, why did he try that? Well, look, everybody likes to experiment until the experiment doesn't work. But that was one where I was like, we don't need to fucking try that experiment, dude. It's like landing
and you saw that the experiment failed. Well, yeah. It's like you had a chance.
Well, it's like, do we need to fly a rocket ship to the sun? It's probably not going to work. You're probably going to burn up close to getting there.
At a time when nobody can make a jump shot, I guess I'm not totally in love with the idea of making your spacing worse. Like, if everybody's feeling good and you're making open looks, like, cool. But at a time when no one can make a jump shot, that certainly did more harm than good.
And so tonight you have no Hauser again. He didn't go back to that lineup. But so in the first half, I think it was Tatum, Cornette, Pritchard, Springer, Peterson. That was at the first half. And the second half, it may have been the same. It was Derrick. I think it was Derrick in the second half, in the fourth quarter. One, it was very small between Pritchard, Springer, and Derrick, and then Cornette and Tatum. It worked in the first half because I thought Tatum just
didn't
managed
hate
it quite well.
I don't know.
It was okay. It was. I
If
just
the
wanted to ask you about
alternative-
it. Yeah.
But if the alternative is you're playing Tillman in those minutes, like I'll survive.
No,
I
I
mean,
think it's okay because
like,
I
is my
think Drew got hurt.
gripe that Peterson got minutes over Walsh? Maybe, but like maybe
That's
you need
fine.
maybe you wanted the spacing and want to see if Peterson can make a couple threes, open threes for you. I think, at this point, Springer has at least earned these mini shifts of ball pressure, defensive chaos, and at least one or two open threes a game. Like he has at least in the dog days of the NBA season. I mean, I don't know what to do. I look at him and I'm like, this is like a Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart combo. It's
No. Stop. So don't
they can't
disparage.
shoot. They can't shoot, right? Like
Don't disparage them.
Can't dribble like early Avery and gives you physicality and ball pressure like Marcus Smart. It's like the things that he's bad at now are the same things that those two were bad at when they were in their first few years.
Okay.
Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay. One, I think Jaden Springer is playing well, but I think like his on-ball defense is legitimately like very valuable. I think, especially at the moment in the dog days, as you're saying. But like Marcus Smart's defense from like the jump was kind of like on ball, off ball.
Like he's that in the sense that he has like a 6'4" frame, not that.
Okay.
He plays the same type of defense. He's like his ball pressure is more like Avery Bradley, but his build is more like Smart, or like Drew, where it's like I trust him against the wing and I trust him against the guard. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just wanted to make sure we don't go too far with the Jaden
You can be
Springer.
hyperbole, but I just mean they're
No, I get what you mean. And like, I don't want to talk too much shit about it because I've been I think he's like not an NBA player, but like I have to give him credit. The Clippers game, he flipped it. Anytime he's come in lately, he's forced turnovers. His ball pressure is valuable. It is astounding to me that for a guard, he can't dribble the ball really.
Crazy. It's Avery Bradley.
How does this happen? Was he just really tall originally and then never practiced his dribbling? His release is so slow. He made one today though, but he plays hard. His on-ball defense is legit. And on a night where you don't have Hauser and Drew appears to have hurt himself, it sounds like.
Really?
Like his wrist. I'm not sure which wrist. If I can find out. But yeah, that's why he didn't come back in. He only played 22 minutes.
I didn't even.
Yeah.
That's
Drew,
not great. I don't love that.
From Cam Tabatabai, I think Drew Holiday may have hurt his left hand or wrist. He was fussing with it during the game. He's resting it on a stack of towels on the bench and hasn't played much in the second half. So I think that there's some credence to that. Because he only played 22 and a half minutes. So that's obviously not good. But you kind of had to play. So one, no Hauser to play guys anyway. And then you lose Drew in the second half. So that's why Springer ends up playing 20 minutes, which is a lot of minutes for Jaden Springer. But you find ways to get it done.
And here's an interesting question. As we approach the trade deadline, if you're going to have health concerns with Holiday or White or any, like, do you think there's more value in keeping him on the roster for his, strictly for defensive ball pressure, playoff? Like, think of the guards you might have to face. Is that more valuable? And try to then flip Tillman's minimum salary for that. Let's say you want a wing or a big that just is a better big. I just don't know if you're going to tell me Holiday's going to have a hurt wrist and he's aging and declining defensively, whatever, and I have to go up against, scoring guards.
Springer versus Damian Lillard.
Defense? I don't know. The way that he's defending now, I'm just thinking, like, if I'm in a pinch, right, would I rather have Tillman and whoever you're getting with Springer's $4 million, or Springer and whatever minimum big you can, or position player, if that's Yabu, Javonte Green, whatever, is that a better mix? And I think it is. If his three-point shot can be somewhat real and the on-ball defense can be somewhat sustainable, I just think those skill sets are too valuable to trade. I don't know. He has my brain in a pretzel.
No. Well, hey, at least he's making it Interesting for Danny Ainge. Are you watching? Have you been watching the Jaden Springer minutes lately? Are you sending us Walker Kessler for Jaden Springer?
Well, that's what I mean, right? Like, let's say you make that trade for Walker Kessler. Well, now you don't really have, outside of Jordan Walsh, you don't have any bench defenders outside of
JD Davidson. Walsh. We're converting it. We're getting you.
I'm just saying, like, it just makes me nervous.
I get you.
Potential, because playoffs are all about matchups, right? And especially if I can't have Peyton Pritchard on the floor, let's say he's getting targeted defensively, and I need a bigger reserve wing defender. I don't know. The way he's playing, it just makes you think.
I want my reaction is like you just play Pritchard more if Holiday goes down, but I get what you mean. Like if there's a Jalen Brunson, for example, you're probably putting a J on him or whatever, but it's like Pritchard's getting toasted because Drew Holiday is out, and it's like, all right, we got 7 minutes of Jaden Springer, and he forced 2 turnovers on Brunson and navigated some screens.
And I'm just thinking in a playoff environment where the pressure's up, let's say it's a game at the Garden and the crowd's going crazy, and you have Springer in your asshole trying to bring the ball up, like maybe that causes a turnover, that sparks a fast break. Like, I just think he's showing too many of these, momentum type swinging defensive possessions where, who was it? Who tried to go at him and he turned around and blocked the jumper tonight? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, it was
like early in his maybe it was Lonzo or Kobe White. Maybe it was Kobe White, but like, I don't know. You just see these flashes where it's like you might need to pull that out of your ass in a playoff moment where he gets you one stop, right? Like, I just think that's a valuable skill to have.
He definitely possesses a skill in that on-ball defense that the rest of the bench doesn't have. Like, if Drew or Derrick are down, as improved as Pritchard's defense is, his on-ball defense isn't. Like, Springer's just, as you said, body type-wise, like, he just has the strength to guard guys in a way that
he can guard down and he can guard up. Yeah. And I think that's just you can't give that away for a fourth center. I just don't think you can give that skill set away for a guy that might not even play if your big man rotation doesn't get hurt.
It's definitely interesting because 9 days ago,
I'm not even thinking about
9 days ago.
That's such a credit to him
absolutely.
He's earning his keep and he's making it at least a discussion of because I do think if they get rid of him and that position, they have to replace it. You need another wing defender or, guard, combo guard on the roster that is not Jordan Walsh or Baylor Shireman. Like, you can't put that type of pressure on them. They're not ready. And then this isn't to say Springer's ready.
Springer, though, he's ready.
But I think defensively, I trust him to defend without fouling more than Walsh or Shireman in any game of significance.
Hey, I think people are certainly feeling the vibes when it comes to Springer, and I get it. Well, tomorrow me and Greenie are doing me and Spoonie are doing a full trade deadline preview, and this is going to be that it was Springer, and now it's Tillman. The contract has gotten smaller.
And I don't know if you've looked at it, but the names that are
not good.
It's awful. It's like unironically, Yabu is like the best player.
Yeah.
But I think we may have talked about this in Vegas at Summer League. Don't sleep on Mamu on the Spurs.
Oh yeah.
He only makes $2.1 million. He's 6'11". He shoots 40% from 3 on 1.7 attempts a game. 50% from the floor, and he's 25.
All right.
Just telling you.
I don't mind some Mamu from Keedishvili.
Yeah. He's got an insane name. That's got to be the longest name in Celtics history.
It's true. His name is so long that it actually curves around, because it's like Giannis on the jersey. Yeah.
He's basically like Giannis. He's a lefty Giannis, basically.
Well, I don't know where he's from, but whatever country he's from, version of Giannis.
But that's like a serious thing. Like, there are everyone who makes $4 million and under is mostly dog water. So it's like, do I want to give up the potential of Springer for a guy that's like not even going to move the needle? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Javonte makes less than that, so he's
Yep.
definitely a guy we've been talking about. So we'll see. But yeah, look, good game, but
Needed it.
needed it. So what? We're 7-4.
7-4. That's why these
next two are critical.
This is it. The next two are like the swing. Because I feel like once they can get down to where they only need to play 500 basketball,
You're good.
I'll be much more relieved because they're not going to lose, 2 or 3 in a row, right? Like that's just not in their DNA.
Yeah.
But it's during this time where they need to rip off like 3 or 4 in a row to get there. We're not exhaling yet. But these last, this was a big one because, it wasn't. I said it wasn't a must win, but it was a can't lose. Like you could not lose today, and they didn't. So thank God.
Yeah. This like you have to go 1-on-1 in the next two. Like that's obviously non-negotiable. But like going into the Cavs game on a 3-game winning streak is like pretty, because then you're below even, right? You'll be 5-5.
You'll only need 500 the rest of the way.
Which
we know
good.
they can do because they've done it for 8 weeks. So we know that they can play 500. It's just get me. But again, we can't.
Pelicans are going to be tough.
They were they've been playing a lot better since that loss in Boston. And remember, they were a CJ McCollum floater away from beating you. So Correct. It's like, it's going to be just as hard. And they have what? Philly? I mean, they beat you too, even though Embiid probably won't play. But
but they've turned it around. They beat the Kings today. They beat the Lakers yesterday. They beat the Cavs last week, all without Embiid. It's kind of funny now. Like all the Sixers fans had accepted that they were trying to get into the bottom 6 to try and keep their pick, and now they're like.
Well, not only that, but with Jaylen Johnson getting hurt, the Hawks are going to slide. So it's like they're gonna fall backwards into the play-in. But I don't know. I just win on what is it? Friday. Just win Friday and
win Friday.
Don't worry about Philly.
Go from there.
A couple of days, but they needed it and they got it, and that is what matters.
Needed it, they got it. Al Horford, big toe concerns? No.
Is it funny that I always joke that this was the fake injury they gave Horford to skirt the rules, and now he actually has a sprained left toe?
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe this whole time he was been dealing with a sore toe.
Part of me thinks it's, them just buying him more time.
That's what it feels like.
I'm not, he's 50 years old. He hasn't, he could use it, right? Like more rest is not a bad thing for him.
Correct.
But at the same time, I thought this was a fake injury. So what's the holdup?
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if they're just saving him for the Philly, Cleveland, next two because
hey man, having him against Zion, I would like to have Al Horford. They played pretty well today. Who are they? The Pelicans.
They lost close to the Mavs. I think it was.
Look, that Mavs win. Obviously, there was no Luka for in the game that we played against them. This Mavs team has been collecting solid wins since Luka has gone down. That team is solid. That win against the Mavericks was a quality win. I know Luka wasn't there, so it's not like you beat one of the best teams in the league, but that was a solid win. And so, but Zion played 30 minutes tonight. They shot 48% from 3.
You never have to apologize for winning.
No, dude.
You never have to apologize. They all count the same.
We've got to fucking play DeJounte Murray, who is going to have 40 points and 7 threes in the first quarter again.
I was surprised we didn't get a prayer.
First time in a while.
Crazy what happens when everyone just plays to their normal percentages against the Celtics.
I really appreciated you pulling the Dylan Brooks misses in the following night because it was yes, go on because I'm with you.
I know we're getting kind of long here, but
that's all right,
that just triggers me. That when people say maybe if you didn't leave him open, and then as soon as they're dog shit in their next game, it's they didn't leave him open. It's no. All these teams guard all of these scrub shooters the same way.
Yeah, this is not groundbreaking.
It's fake because in our game he went 8 or 10 of 15.
10
on the same looks.
10.
So it's that shit and usage just like trigger me. Like,
Oh, the usage is.
But
I mean,
that's my own, psychotic.
No, because Tatum's usage is going to be down heavily tonight because a lot of his passes were hockey assists.
I looked it up. Him and Jaylen both had a 28 usage, and Porzingis had a 29 usage, and they won by 22.
And not indicative of how the game was. Yeah.
So this idea that they can't win unless Tatum has a 35 or whatever percent usage, no. Guys just need to make their open shots off Tatum passes.
Tatum has the ball.
Right.
Tatum has the ball all the time. Like in the Houston game, he played the entire second half and had the ball all the time, and it was awesome.
Right.
As you said.
But his usage rate is 24% because he's passing to guys who missed open shots. If Jaylen Brown hits 2 threes and if Drew Holiday hits a corner 3, they win that game, and he has a 24% usage.
Fuck.
It's just it makes me want to just, listen, it's my own problem.
Nice. That's how teams guard Dillon Brooks. That's how teams guard Kyle Anderson going back to earlier in the season.
Right. That's how teams guard Caleb Martin. So
Larry Nance.
Yes, every once in a while, that guy could go 3 for 8 in those games and shoot 38%. That's perfect. If Dillon Brooks goes 3 of 8, they win the game. No, it's like the fake part isn't that they've made a 3 every once in a while. It's that he made 10 of them.
10.
He's played 458 career games. You think every one of those games he was guarded airtight and just never made 10 threes before? That's the thing that just annoys me so much.
The reason he couldn't hit open threes was the reason why the Grizzlies let him go. He shot them out of multiple playoff series because teams were not guarding him, and it was completely capitulating their entire offense, and so they got rid of him.
It just bothers me when we're experiencing one of those nights and people are like, oh, the Celtics just leave them open. There are contests, and even if they were wide open, the law of averages says this guy who's a lifetime dog shit shooter should not be shooting 80% from 3. And at the same point, you have to take something away. You got to limit, Sengun or Van Fleet. You have to pick your poison. A fake shooter, so it's so predictable that he came back and had 11 points. Amen Thompson too. Where the hell was that? You couldn't have just given me 22 points. You had to have 33. It's just so annoying.
For a guy that shoots 39% in the floater range, of course he hits one over the 7'2" Latvian guy. That one was crazy.
Who only gives up 20% shooting at the rim. It's all just so fake. I hate it.
Do you know the most threes that Jason Tatum has ever hit in a game? Because I looked it up because I was curious. Did Dillon Brooks just break Tatum's made threes record?
Let's see. Smart has the franchise record at 10 or 11. I bet you Tatum has made 8 in a game before.
9. He has a few games with 9. I'm like, you're telling me that Dillon Brooks now has a higher 3-point make record than Jason Tatum? Cool. Then that's how we lost.
And you know what? To be fair, there were some somewhat fake threes from Porzingis tonight. The logo one, that's just a guy in the zone. You expect that shot to not go in, but Porzingis isn't Dillon Brooks.
That's not Dillon Brooks, brother.
That's not Dillon Brooks. So it's again, stuff like that, the fumble in the Atlanta game, we should be talking about.
Please. Why? It hurts
and the
so
worst
much.
part about that is had you won those games, now you're talking about a 5-7 stretch.
Yeah, we're in the books if we have those two.
So it's we're sweating that out all because of 2 extremely fake outcomes. Is just only this team, I think.
Yep, and that's life, baby. All right, Greenie, it's been a pleasure. Celtics play again in a couple days, and we'll do this thing again.
Hopefully they win. Hopefully they win.
They're winning. Let's go. All right, talk soon. Peace.